And I'm gonna, yeah, let's see, look at it.
All right, we are live. Hello, Twig World.
Hello.
So Twig, Drupal.
Google Twig. How many of the big criticals do we have left on the machine side?
On the machine side?
Let's put it that way. I mean, we have the soft stuff where I understand what's happening, and then have that stuff that you guys and Lauri is talking about where I always get like.
So do you just mean with theming or like all of D8?
No, more of just the rest of D8 I don't care about. I've said this publicly many times. I think it's awesome what they've done with translation and awesome what they've done with that configuration management or whatever else they've done of new stuff.
Yeah.
But I really don't care because, I mean, that's not where. I know where the pain is going to come to me in precisely like a month after Drupal 8 is going to ship. It's like something around a class that we like accidentally put in.
Yeah. Okay, so, well, technically in the theme system in Twig, there's only one critical right now, and it's the meta issue about auto escape that.
Oh shit! That's still there.
Well, Joel and I went to New Hampshire almost a month ago now to sprint on it, and we got a lot of stuff done. And people next week in New Jersey got a lot of stuff done, and we're working on it. It's just it's a big task. But
it's a meta of about 50 issues, and I think we got through 30 roughly.
Yeah, or at least like 20-ish, 25-ish at this point.
And the other ones, like, they're really hard to decide which way to go with the solution because they're security related. So it's really kind of very particular.
Right now, there's some sort of bigger changes that are shifting things around and changing how a couple of those classes work around marking stuff as safe and doing cross-site scripting. Yeah. So I think once those land, then actually some of them will get unpostponed and hopefully can get in pretty quick.
Okay, sweet.
But yeah.
Yes.
Just trying to see which ones. I'm looking at safe markup stuff, but the Twig extension thing is there any more that we have to do on that? I'm going to send you the link.
Yeah, sure.
This one. Any more we have to do on this one, or is it RTBC yet?
Yeah, I feel like there's a good handful of them that are like kind of in this state where they're. Oh, for some reason I thought this was already in.
Darn.
Oh, okay, I remember. Yeah. Okay.
I spin off the instance of.
Yeah.
That's going to be like kind of tricky, but whatever.
Yeah, like
might break other people's stuff.
Yeah, who knows if that will get in, but this is more important.
Joel, can you? I'm gonna send you a link here. It's been like laying down.
I saw you were working on the options thing still. I haven't looked at it in a bit.
Yeah, it's green now. It mostly just needs like some documentation, and I might actually work on that tonight.
Cool.
Now that you mention it.
No, I just picked your link. It's the age-old comment.
Let me know if you need me to look at that options one if you're done with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think there's the only thing that I'm slightly worried about on the options one is I haven't really analyzed it, but it seems like the old version. Actually, I think it's okay. Maybe. Anyway, like it seems like the old version had all this recursion, and I'm not sure if we have the same amount of recursion or not not so much in the pre-process, but in the Twig template. I'm not sure if it handles the same amount of recursion or not in there. But nested opt groups are not really a thing anyway, so it might not matter.
Okay. Yeah.
I just RTBC'd the one you just posted.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And what are you up to here, Morton, with this comments thing.
Yeah, this is the comments. So it was an instant getting in like a month ago, and then me and Lewis have a whole discussion around how we were using class names and how we were using BIM.
Yep, I was following that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I hope that we get the documentation updated because it made it's the whole thing about how far deep do we want to nest stuff and how much are we gonna like group stuff in together and blah 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 blah. Anyways, we found
I would keep it as like from my point of view on that one, we should just keep it one level deep. It would be nice if we could do that.
That was also the conclusion.
That's what you guys came to.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I wanted to have it into the documentation, so it's not just that. Oh, but we agreed on this and on this issue.
Oh yeah.
Because it seems that we have had there's been a lot of, at least in the past, a lot of things that got agreed upon in an issue somewhere and nobody knows why, and then we come back and it's like, what the fuck happened here? Anyways, and I found a clear fix as well that was hitting, it was like floating around inside of classes that I killed on the way out. Anyways, take a look at it and see where we're at, just so we can get a review on it.
I agree that would be good to have a documentation so we can point to it.
Yeah.
It's simply just how do we use BIM class and how it's really easy if you don't understand BIM to just go apeshit in it and just build these never-ending like structures that's not going to make life easier for anybody.
Yeah.
Anyways, just to make a quick update from my point of view, that is, I'm flying to the States tomorrow, and so I'm going to be in your guys' time zone. I have some work I need to get done, but I'm also going to be in New York for the camp up there. I'm flying in on Thursday, so I can sprint. So that's going to be next Thursday, and actually my day there, I'm hoping to use it more to get the quote-unquote front-end overview, or CSS designer overview of where do people have issues still, so we can like try to figure that out. So today actually I figured out while I was out running that I'm thinking about code when I run because that's my brain.
It seemed like the UX usability study that they were working on brought to light some issues that need to be taken care of from accessibility usability.
Yeah, I'm a little bit how to put it. Well, that is all fine and handy. I just know there's stuff where we can't change markup in CSS the right way, and there's the fact in the menu we have hard-coded classes inside the menu active, like stuff like that we need to take care of and figure out how to do that, because as soon as we hit RC1, when we're not able to change anything, and it doesn't seem like anybody is, I can't get a real answer, is when we, let's say, come up with an 8.5, will we then be able to actually change, how stuff comes out? Or do we constantly have to, are we going to end up in the same situation as Drupal 7 where we're going to have to support all the things we didn't fix in this round? That's one of my fears. I haven't looked yet at all the things they learned in up in Twin Cities. But there's probably a fuck ton of things.
Admin block UI for placing a block they've got some pretty interesting ideas on how to make that thing more useful, because people don't know how to use it right off the bat. So that's that one's kind of interesting. Some pretty neat ideas coming out of that one.
Oh yeah. Well, that's where I say, well, that's all fine. I'm interested in how my Twig template works. Because those other things are things we can fix later on. I'm afraid that I can't figure out cuts. And when we, let's say, wasn't the idea at some point when we put out like 8.1, then we would actually not be backwards compatible with 0.001? Or like when we put out 8.5, we wouldn't be backwards compatible to like involve in that. Wasn't that the original idea?
I can't remember what the ruling on how backwards compatible we are supposed to be.
Well, I think because it's semantic versioning, at least supposed to be. I think everything that's 8 point something needs to be backwards compatible. So
Yeah.
you can add stuff, but I don't think you can like break anything in a backwards incompatible way until you get to number 9.
Yes, and that's there's gonna be like some really interesting issues around whatever we put into our Twig templates now, because we can't just add in shit later on. It was the menu I got to think about today. I got thinking about Firefly and then leaving the win and leaves we were killing. And it was just like we have like hard-coded classes still floating around in the system and stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through the system as I'm building stuff now. And I'm just gonna take like small notes of everything. I can say like, hey, here we have a fuck ton of issues, and figure out how many of them is whether it's gonna be fixed. And it do drive me batshit that we have always to like go in and support 7 and Bardic on every fucking thing. On these things, it would be nice just to hammer them through and be like, and here's follow-up issues from Bardic and from 7 so we can get this shit fixed now. But yeah, that's just me.
Well, Classy's helpful for that now that we have Classy, because we can just kind of move stuff there, and then 7 and Bartik get it.
And that's kind of I'm gonna have a talk with Lewis and Emma about it. Say why don't we instead of we end up having these, it's like some of the issues move so slowly forward, because then somebody finds a fucking CSS error somewhere in Bardic, which is like, how does that block from what we're trying to do over in Classic? Why are we trying to like fix the world, everything all the time? And maybe we'd be better at like submitting follow-up issues. We have it right now with the comments. There is like an issue in it. There's a follow-up in it for Classy, and the maintainer has been like, here's the change that's going to happen. So we don't also have to take that in every time, because also we're going to maintain themes every time we try to do a change. Anyways.
Yeah, I think like for this comment one, I think it would be perfectly fine to say, if it's possible to say, okay, here's the issue to clean up, the core markup in CSS, and then here's the issue. I guess the CSS is really where it gets tricky, right? Because if you're changing all this stuff, the CSS is still not split out. So
exactly. And can you put in a patch that actually breaks, stock or whatever, or do you have to fix it? And then we're gonna go out in that where somebody finds, something got changed 2 pixels to the left, and yeah. Anyways, that's a whole nother discussion I'm not going to take today, where it will be, I think there is more efficient ways we could work on, but that's for another talk, because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to be in the US for the next 3 weeks, and I know David is coming to New York, and I'm going to be there on Thursday. This is also a stand-up meetup on Friday, and I hope we can sit down there and like try to get a bit more view of everything. I don't know how much we can expect actually going to get happening over the next month, because it's summer vacation and stuff. But I guess we're still going to try to keep our meetings, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just want to have my in on it.
I'll be still chugging away on stuff. I'm mostly doing stuff in this safe markup critical to try and get that done, but working on the odd, other things when I have time.
And I've been looking at some of those, like the issues around the CSS, that the CSS files we're trying to move over. That it's interesting how many things they hammer into when we're just by moving a file.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ! It's And we're gonna have issues when we come down to 8.2 and 8.3 where there's just stuff we can't move around. Even though I thought we would have everything done, but fuck it.
Yeah, it's just not enough bodies.
Yeah.
And the bodies that we do have are, we're all volunteering and stuff. Like we don't have, we're not doing this full time.
And tired and yeah. Anyways, I actually hope that I don't know yet what's going to happen with the community summit in Barcelona. But one of the things I would like to use that was also having all these discussions of how do we develop code and how can we make it quicker to work with for those who do the work. So getting new people in would be easier. I mean, if you know that you by starting to try to do a contrib thing, like helping out the core, you're basically gonna have to follow an issue for a month and a half to make it sure it goes in. That's not a healthy way of working, and that's why we've at the end of the day not more than maximum 10 people working on Twig stuff, because I mean unless you have this as an obsession, why would you? So anyways, boys, I'm gonna go in and crash because in 4 hours my alarm clock is gonna wake me up.
Sounds good.
So, but I'm gonna be in you guys' time zone next week, so I hope to get more stuff done. Also, I don't have my daughter on my arm, so that makes it way easier. Go and look at an issue and be like, oh yeah, let me just look into this field issue again and figure out where we're at with that. I tried that yesterday, and after like 16 hours of full fucking on mode with a 5-year-old, there was no energy starting to read through 400 comments and figure out what actually happened.
Cool. Well, safe travels.
All right. Yes.
We'll be in touch.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.
One other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
That issue that got brought up on Twitter from Steve.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering how we can kind of kickstart that one a little bit so that we can kind of try out some scenarios. So there's the two options that we have really or maybe a combined thing where we have view models to wrap up our stuff, or we have some way to magically do the sandboxing without doing too much damage to letting people do stuff, or some kind of hybrid where maybe if it's this type of thing, we sandbox these things, if that's a possibility too.
Yeah, it is from what I looked at it. Like it's fairly flexible. Like you could say, if instance of entity, maybe even I'm not sure how.
Or entity interface or something.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that would be better.
Then stop doing any method that's not get or is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could do any kind of policy like that that you want, really.
Then we don't have to deal with all custom stuff that's being passed into a template, so we don't have to I don't know, just screw over somebody that was trying to actually put something in there with methods that they wanted to use in the template that were named the same as maybe our entity interface.
Right.
Maybe.
So you're talking about a different object, a non-entity object?
Yeah, that would have a delete thing on it that you wanted to be accessible through the template. Because I don't want to lock it down so that people can't do these things if they want to, or if they intend to do something really cool with it in that way. Just by locking it down by the name.
So basically, that sounds like, I guess, kind of in trouble.
Or maybe I should just play around with creating a quick policy myself in just regular old Twig, just to see kind of how it works, because I'm not too familiar with security policies and those sandboxing things yet, because I haven't tried it at all.
Yeah, it looked fairly simple. It looked fairly simple. You basically, I haven't played with it, but from the documentation, you basically add the your sandboxing policy kind of thing to the environment, and then everything just kind of goes through that. So, and then it just kind of checks, you know, am I allowed or am I not allowed?
And it also has the ability to do it like one-off type thing from I saw too. You can like pass in a security policy on like on a specific template.
Yeah, I think, or there's at least, at the very least, there's like the sandbox tags. And yeah, I think you're right. You can also modify stuff. Like if you're doing, I guess if you're manually like calling the template engine kind of thing, you could switch that out.
Yeah. Which we can't, but whatever. Well, we can, but we can't.
Yeah. So, okay, so let me just get this straight. So basically, the rough idea of what we were just talking about is a sort of a pattern-based whitelist for entities.
Yes.
So it's using only
whitelist.
get and is.
Yes.
Would that?
So basically, a read-only, like a read-only security policy for entities.
Yeah. And do you know?
You were saying read-only stuff.
Do you know if there's like? Because I know there's kind of like some magic stuff so that you can get to fields. Is that still a get? Like when if you do like node.field_example, is that? Do we know what that's calling at this point?
Oh, it's probably calling like the magic get.
Okay. Yep.
And then that magic get, as long as that magic get is not too like loosey goosey and calls, like if the magic get magically called the delete, then you'd be bypassing the fact that we've whitelisted the actual delete function, but not the magic delete function.
I guess there's other stuff too. Like there's ID, UUID, is new, bundle.
Oh yeah, that was
label.
Bundle label. Yeah, it's kind of like it's either we can blacklist. I don't know if you can blacklist or whitelist, but if you could blacklist,
you can do either. You can do either or because you're just kind of returning true or false, you know. So it's like,
but it would be better because if somebody extended an entity, we wouldn't want them to like expose something that could be dangerous, if that's a possibility.
Well, but we also can't babysit people forever.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's one of those situations.
Well, if they can, if we wouldn't have to babysit them if we had the ability to let them extend the policy to include their methods.
Yeah, that sounds complicated.
It is kind of in the way that we have it set up. I just know that other frameworks have pretty neat ideas of, like I know, not framework, but Silverstripe. I've used Silverstripe before, and Silverstripe had a pretty interesting, and Koena both had a pretty interesting idea of like either replacing the classes by registering a different class in its place, very similar to the way we have services.
Yeah.
And Koena had this thing called transparent extension, which was a crazy thing where you could actually just create a new file called the name of the class, and it would the autoloader would know that it should use yours instead of the one in core. That was really fancy. Well, fancy. It was magic trick. But I think that if you can just register a different service in replace of the policy or something like that, then you could give somebody the opportunity to manipulate that security policy, which might be the way to go there. Then we can give it safe by default, and we can kind of babysit them till they want to shoot themselves.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to figure out. It doesn't look. I was just thinking like maybe if it was like Twig loaders where you could load multiple and kind of have them go in a certain order.
Yeah. No priorities on.
I'm not really seeing that. I'm just kind of like casually looking at the documentation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show that anyway. It still could be possible. I just put that in the chat, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's maybe because it's just add extension, so it's
just keep adding different security policies.
Yeah, because it's basically like you have your policy, which is an instance of your like sandbox policy class, and then you do sandbox equals new Twig extension sandbox, and you pass in the policy to that.
Yeah.
And then you just add that as an extension. So that seems not too bad.
Can you remove extensions?
I think it's tricky. I remember looking into it, and I think it might be kind of tricky.
I'm going to look quickly if I can set.
Remove extension. Well, yeah. So it's there, but it's not, it's deprecated, and I don't know what the replacement is supposed to be.
Okay.
I think maybe you're supposed to like get the extensions and then unset and then set or something. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I haven't really. I can't remember if I looked into that one or not, but I remember I wanted to use it at one point for something or just to test it, but then I saw it was deprecated and I was like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, the set extensions thing would definitely remove them if you, yeah, you could trick it.
Well, actually, the set extensions is only adding, so that wouldn't do it either.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. Huh.
So I don't know if there's any way of actually removing stuff, and I can't find any issues that are referencing that deprecation. So I'd have to go Twig environment. So it just says as of Twig 1.x, the ability to remove an extension is deprecated, and the method will be removed. So it doesn't say that it's replaced by anything.
Yeah. Boo.
You know. So I mean, you could still override the whole Twig environment, but that's kind of a big hammer.
Yeah. If you can, but if that's so, back to what I was saying before about it being the policy being a service. If it's a service, we could possibly replace that service with something else, and then.
Oh, I see.
So then, when it's being added, or the extension is being added, it would be adding based on what service we have provided it.
Yeah.
It's a security policy service, Twig security policy service.
Yeah, so then you would just use the service container, and then they could swap it out.
Yeah, so if somebody really wanted to do that, they have the hammer.
Yeah. So I did find the commit. There's no issue about it, but this was from late 2012. Some kind of change to how extensions are loaded. So anyway.
Okay.
It says they were loaded as late as possible. They're now loaded as early as possible. So yeah.
Yeah, we should still be able to do that as long as it's on the container at the time when we want to build the templates.
Yeah.
But that would be something to experiment with. But I guess the first thing, like that would be the second part to it, because you still want to be able to do that. But the first part would be figuring out how we can practically save everybody without.
One thing.
It would have to happen at the same time, I think, because you need to be able to replace it. If we did go the route of like actually, trying to whitelist or blacklist everything. Whitelist.
One thing that might be interesting, I mean, it might still be a security hole in a way, because it wouldn't stop people from passing these objects to templates, but if we put aside the sandbox idea for a second and think about the view models, you know how like sometimes we'll demo the Twig magic and say, oh, you can call this get email method with like .email.
Yep.
It would be kind of interesting if the view model would actually simplify that and just, almost just have like a public property or something just for email, or at least a public method, so that people don't have to know about Twig magic. Like, as cool as it is, it'd be way cooler if you could just like do your kint or whatever and just be like, oh, okay, here's everything right here, and you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. And the view model also brings up a nice feature too, that when you're in Drupal 7 and you try to spit out not an object, but like well, even an object, you have way too much information. You get almost information overload on any renderable array. It's like, what properties can I actually change here that would be useful?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and what will happen if I change this thing? Am I going to break my Drupal by changing this one property? So probably not, but like, it looks scary.
Yeah. But with form arrays, probably you're going to break it, or it's just going to not do anything.
Yeah. If you change value, I found out on a form array, oh my God, do you break things? I tried to set a value. Oh my God, that was default values fine to set, but like value, don't set.
Yeah,
it just breaks everything in the form.
Yeah, those
really
are some of my earliest memories of like developing, like doing like Drupal code stuff, is like trying to mess around with form arrays and just being like so lost.
Oh yeah.
Like
so that would be a good way to deal with it. Like if you could do a view model and then totally model it to the view that you're trying to pass it to. But a view model would be such a generic concept that when you're telling people that they should build a view model to send to the view, it's kind of like you should base it off of a base class, but the base class could be pretty much empty. It's like an empty class that's there just so that you would, I don't know, could have helpers or something like that on it, but it would be fairly empty because it's supposed to be like a generic object, almost like your standard class.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking is that it would be cool if you could basically automatically turn those gets and ises into, well,
yeah, you were saying like on an entity, like build view model or something like that, or get view model, or
that too. But I mean, like, so on the view model itself, like, it would be cool if there was like a base class or something that would just take all of your, getters and kind of just take off the get part and then like lowercase or something.
Yeah. You could also do that, like you were saying, you could also do that from the other side where you're on the entity itself and you say, build get my view model, and it would just like, cool. Yeah. And the view model, what would be really handy too, is if your view model was also representative of your view mode.
Oh, that sounds fancy.
Because your view mode is going to tell what fields that specific display is supposed to be getting.
Yeah.
And so if your view model can represent that, then it's only sending the fields that are necessary for that specific view.
Yeah.
So it would be like, oh, I'm rendering this view model or view mode, therefore only provide that the view model with those fields that I've passed along.
And I think at least to a certain extent, I think things like the node template do that already, if I'm not mistaken. Like if it won't expose all the fields, it'll only, because that content, well, it's because it's a render array, right? So that content array, so it's not really quite the same actually, because your node object is still available there and it has everything.
Yeah, I think it's like
you can see everything.
Builder or something. Yeah. So not that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you could lock it down to the view mode, then you kind of it gives a bit of control that way too. So that somebody in the UI could decide what's going to come to the.
It actually kind of brings me. This actually kind of loops around slightly and connects to the idea of the context, which is, oftentimes it's kind of like just in case. And you see that actually a lot, like, in things like form arrays and stuff. It's like, hey, here's the node object in case you need it. Here's this in case you need it. Mm-hmm. So if we kind of go with this idea of the context or theme context, chances are we will be passing a lot of stuff like that, like user objects, node objects, so that you have that contextual data. But it won't be safe because you can then delete that node. So
yeah. Actually, another the same thing in Drupal 7 with when I was dealing with commerce, you notice that the order entity has a data. Basically, it's called the data property, and it's just a serialized array of extra information, context information, and you see other modules just like dumping crap onto the end of that thing, just so that they can pass it along on the order.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that.
Yeah. So it's the same idea too. It's not passing around objects usually. Could, but it doesn't usually pass around objects. It's usually simple things like this thing has coupon or something. But yeah, that's the same kind of thing too. But I think if that entity, those things that are passing around the context would also be just passing around their own view models instead of passing around the whole thing. But that in that case, then we shouldn't be like trying to do view modes on that too, or maybe there's a generic one where it just says pass all the possible properties of this entity that are public facing read only properties or something.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of, the way I'm leaning at this moment anyway is if we're kind of gonna have some magic in there, like, or even not, like, so there's kind of two ways to see the view model thing going as far as like developer experience. The one way is like you need to, any kind of object like that you're passing to a template, you have to, say get view model, or you have to do something like that.
Yeah.
Or
the onus on the developer.
Yeah, or we somehow try to do that automatically.
Yeah.
Which is like, almost sounds like we need a process layer or something, which no thank you.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know, they could be adding that stuff in pre-process as well. So given all that, like, I don't think either of those is that great. So if the choice is between either of those and like the sandbox policy, I almost want to do the sandbox policy, because it's just like, it's kind of simpler, because it's just like everything goes through this.
Yep.
And as long as we can kind of swap it out if we need to, it seems like it's simpler and more robust.
Yeah, and if maybe it would be good to just give that one a try, roll something up and see how it treats with what we have in core right now, because there's a lot of tests that could see whether or not something's going to break, and it would be easy to see like how far we can go with this method without without a lot of extra custom stuff around it. Mm-hmm. You'll see as soon as you put it in, like you'll see all the things that break because of the sandbox, and some of those things might legitimately need to be fixed, and some of them might be just more exception stuff that we have to deal with, like you're saying, like label and some extra properties that but it would be good to look at all the getters and setters and stuff, and eliminate
if we wanted to explore, it's not as strong of a solution, I guess, but even if we had a blacklist that says, like, you can't do CRUD operations, like, or not CRUD, but you can't do CUD operations, so no cows, then it would at least be something,
Yeah, it's something, and like I said before, if we can make that as a service that's replaceable, somebody can make it different if they need to. But it goes to that safe by default type thing too. I think if we're nice enough about how we build it, we don't have to prevent too many things from happening. It's just that when those things are like delete, like he found is available, then things can go sour fast. But yeah, safe by default. I think Fabian would be on board with that too.
What approach exactly? Like the
sandboxing and having the ability to have a service that can be swap it out if you necessarily need to,
right?
Or if you're crazy, or if you want it.
Okay, and then
but try to do some sane default whitelisting.
Yeah. And then I guess
see what breaks.
Well, and it would be actually one thought anyway to, if we're just talking about entities for now, one thought would be to basically add a method on there that you could basically specify which methods are okay, like
yeah.
as
So your own whitelists. So
yeah,
like
your own whitelists as like I don't know what it would be, like an array of strings.
yeah,
I don't know.
just an array. Yeah, just an array of methods on your object.
Yeah,
That sounds like a cool idea. Because
because then you
so then you can
can add
augment
your own.
the you
Yeah,
can augment your whitelist if you need to, but by default we're just kind of like and just merge
no.
that array onto the default one.
Yeah, and it'd be cool. I don't know how the exceptions work, but it'd be cool if we could kind of in the exception method be like, hey, if you know what you're doing, like, do this.
Yeah, and then that sounds like I like that idea.
Okay,
It's like a
cool.
protected property of something that you could just definitely a protected property on objects that you want to have some whitelists on them, and I like that idea.
Like it needs to,
Just
yeah,
merge
it's a protected property, but then you have like a protected method, right, to actually fill it out.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool.
That sounds like a trait to me. That sounds like a perfect opportunity for a trait
Yeah.
because nobody's going to want to do that all across core if we had to do that in lots of different places. So
Okay.
almost like a default trait if they wanted to whitelist some stuff.
So
Maybe I'm not.
yeah, I haven't used traits too much, but
It's just when you have like repeated functionality across multiple different domains, like translation, for example, or logging, or things like that. So you have the same function that you want to be calling, like the T function or the log function or whatever. You just put a trait on the object, and now it has a T function, or now it has a log function, or now it has a whitelist property.
But wouldn't it, I guess the way I was thinking, I see what you mean actually. Yeah, that would make sense because the way I was thinking is like, it would be on the entity, interface or the entity class. But yeah, we would probably want it for more than just entities, so that makes sense. And
Whatever
can
object
you
you're passing.
think of anything else off the top of your head that we would want to treat similarly other than entities? Like that would be, I don't know. Like, because there's things that we don't really want to.
Fields could be that way too.
Field?
A field, the field interface fields, whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Because fields are essentially entities in data modeling anyways.
It's entities all the way down.
Are actually are they actually entities, or am I?
Oh, I don't.
They might actually be in Drupal 8. I haven't even checked.
Field item interface extends complex data interface. Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah.
View, pre-save, insert, update, delete. Defines custom delete behavior for field values.
Yeah, but if fields have methods, you don't want to delete them. Yeah.
Oh, never mind. So this method is called during the process of deleting an entity. So this is not actually, I don't think it would, well, actually, no, if you called it, it would probably do stuff.
Is it a protected method?
I'm just going to search for delete methods for now. Because there's there's a whole slew of things that are never going to get passed to a template, and if you're passing them to a template, like have fun, like cache backends and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, if you had a delete method and it's blacklisted by default, then we can kind of stop people from doing that. But then if they put it on a whitelist, then they would override the blacklist.
Okay, so are you thinking that there would be some things that would not even be specific to entity, but just like general things like delete?
Yeah, general objects. So you just like, I made this class and I'm passing it to the Twig template.
Because we can do that. We can say like, if method is this or starts with this, then return false. And then
so
we can do
have
more
like
depth stuff.
Yeah, we could do the CRUD. It would be cool to do the CRUD ones by default, and so you'd have, or not the CRUD ones, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So do those ones by default, and then so they're blacklisted. But there is the opportunity, like you said, to have a whitelist inside of your object that would say, yes, whitelist this thing for the template or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it would, like, I'm sure people will have their opinions on how we're supposed to do this, but it would be good to just put something
Like just see how much stuff breaks, I guess.
Yeah. See how much stuff breaks, and also see if anybody has an opinion on a direction that it should go in after we've shown them. Like it's almost like an igniter patch that just
Yeah.
just to see
And
what
then
people
they can
think.
tell us. Yeah, they can tell us everything that's wrong with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I would love to see. Fabian would be the first person I would love to see because he knows that stuff.
Yeah.
Fabian and
Even like
also for security effulgence, and stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah, and just for general, like, well, even theme system stuff, but just general like architecture review and stuff. Like, De Wayner is really, I don't know.
Yeah,
he seems to know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You know, like this method should be here and not here, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And if we get to that point where we can do a trait, or a trait seems like a good idea, then that would be definitely something that like Verdier or Davina or somebody in that entity framework stuff or entity API.
Yeah, true. Good point. Yeah, good to. It'll be good to get them involved because they might have a lot of thoughts on this.
Cool. Is that issue major or?
Yeah, I think it's major right now.
Okay.
And I really want to work on it right now.
Sweet. You get your brains.
Yeah, things
firing
are
on
happening.
all cylinders.
Things are happening.
Cool.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna go do that.
Okay. You can ping me if not. I'm just checking on some stuff right now for. I still want to get those couple of theme system functions going, so I might look at just the view form builder. Oh, what the hell is it called? Grouped form filter theme function that's still there. I just want to do another review on it and see if I can RTBC it. So, but I do like I wouldn't mind helping you out with this thing too. So if you have any questions, just ping me. I'll be on.
Yeah, we can always jump on a hangout later too.
Cool.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna stop this.